In this presentation, I'm going to talk about some basics when you write about a text. Throughout the year, you will be asked to write about texts that you have read. And when you're writing about a text you've read in class, there are some things to keep in mind. This presentation will show you what you need to include in a basic introduction for literary analysis. When you write a literary analysis, you need to include the following in your introduction: the title of the text, the name of the author, a little bit about the text, and a thesis statement. Including each of these elements in your introduction will ensure that your literary analysis is off to a good start. Let's take a look at a sample introduction to a literary analysis. The story was so suspenseful and frightening. The ravine was just a place that people crossed all the time, but it was described in a threatening way. This introduction is missing a few of the key elements. It's missing the title of the text and the name of the author. You can see that it says the story was so suspenseful and frightening, and that the ravine was just a place that people crossed all the time. But these details about the story are a bit vague. Saying that the ravine was described in a threatening way is a statement that can be supported, but it's still a pretty vague thesis right now. Let's take a look at a better introduction. The Ravine by Ray Bradbury is a suspenseful story. A town is terrified by the unsolved murders of 3 young women by a killer nicknamed the Lonely One. Bradbury builds suspense through characterization and setting by making ordinary people and places in the town seem dangerous. Notice that in this example, the title of the text is identified, The Ravine, along with the name of the author, Ray Bradbury. We can see a little bit about what the story is actually about. A town terrified by the unsolved murders of 3 young women by a killer nicknamed the Lonely One. And finally, we have a thesis statement that can be examined and proven with details from the story. Bradbury builds suspense through characterization and setting by making ordinary people and places in the town seem dangerous. This introduction has all of the key elements for a literary analysis. We should also take a moment and look at some editing and style elements in this introduction. Notice that the words in the title, The Ravine, are capitalized and that the font is in italics. You can find the font for italics at the top of your document. It's the letter I in between the bold and underline options. Also notice that when you write the author's name the first time in your writing, you should use both first and last names. If you repeat the author's name again later in the text, you only need to use the author's last name. We don't go around referring to authors by their first names because we aren't on a first name basis with them. It's not polite. To review, when you are writing a literary analysis, you should include these basic elements: the title of the text, the name of the author, a little bit about the text, and a thesis statement. If you keep these 4 elements in mind, you will be well on your way to structuring a fine literary analysis.